Good morning, coffee moaners. How are you this morning?
Have you had a moan yet this morning?
I had a moan.
I did. I had a moan because I had to come downstairs to sleep for a little bit.
Yeah, and then the dog was running around.
And bless her, Toffee, pitter-patter, 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 and I had to lie with my hand on her tummy.
I do feel
which is
for
sweet.
her.
Which is
I
sweet.
do feel for
She's
her.
got these little skin tags, bless her.
She's got these things that old ladies get, and they're just so itchy.
What are they called? Skin tags? Jelly spots.
We're considering helping her by having cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be cosmetic because it's driving her crazy.
Jay.
Has anybody else got a dog that has this?
What?
Well, has this
Oh,
thing?
right, what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're literally jelly
advice?
spots. My nan had them. I mean, these are things that I had one on the back of my thigh. You know, you get little jelly spots, but they become a little bit kind of...
Jamie went to the GP once and he snipped it off.
Not only just snipped it off, he put something over it that froze it, pulled out a little kind of garrote, put the thread around it, went like that, and at the end of it, he went, "Would you like to take it with you, sir?"
Did he?
I looked at it, I thought, where's the Rice Krispie?
Why does it have to be disgusting? This is the strangest thing ever, because those of you that know us well know that Mark doesn't do anything medical, physical, nothing without me nagging him for a year. And yeah, he went and had this, didn't tell me for months afterwards. I had no idea. It was really weird.
And then I said, "Feel my thigh."
Because obviously in his head it was a massive deal, but for me I didn't really notice it.
It was, yes, it was. Especially, if there are certain angles that you could be caught at. I don't know who by, but, you could be caught at certain angles. And I just thought, well, that would be...
Who are you going to get caught by certain angles?
Your angles.
We don't do angles.
Babe, are you past angles? What's your favourite angle?
Well, actually, we don't.
Come on, what's your favourite angle?
I'm not talking about angles.
I love a right
I've never
angle.
understood them.
I love... You know why I
know
like an
when people
isosceles
say-
triangle?
Is that the one that's like that?
That's not a triangle. No,
Is that an isosceles like that?
An isosceles... Well, we've
is
moved
the
from angles to triangles. Do you like an obtuse or do you like an acute?
I could never remember the difference.
I think I like an acute angle.
Which is the acute one?
Like that.
Oh, Lee!
Sharp.
Lee, you made us laugh so much yesterday.
funny.
My mum came round and she was laughing again at you. She said, for goodness sake, look where he is. I mean, she was properly outraged for you.
And Lee, we've got a new title for another project for you called Lee by Example.
Paul, what do you think? You have
that one for nothing.
You have to go to Lee Peart's Instagram and check out his post. He's gone on holiday by accident, basically.
Maybe Lee is more likely to answer me. Lee Peart. What's your favourite angle?
Right, okay, everyone. What's your favourite
angle?
angle? Let's do this. We will get to the news, but as you know, we like a bit of...
I think your favourite angle is it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Okay, I'm going to actually answer this.
Yeah, so I was worried about you seeing me from a certain angle.
So is a hexagon an angle or a shape?
No, it's a shape. It has angles.
Because I've always liked a hexagon.
That's not an answer to the question. So do you like the angles within a hexagon?
What are the angles within it? No, they have to be joined up.
I think they're all obtuse.
Zoe, what are you on about?
I didn't... Right, okay, do you literally want to have it unpacked as to why we're here? I had a jelly... All right, I was kept up all night by a dog that, bless her, was scratching a jelly spot, so I was stroking her tummy. We then told you the story that I had a jelly spot removed from my thigh. She said, you did it without me knowing. I said, because I was worried that from a certain angle, it wouldn't be attractive. She said, what angle? I said, do you do angles? We got to angles.
I said,
asked what your favourite angle is.
No, I said, what? You said somebody at a certain angle would see it and not find it nice.
Do you want me to spell it out and draw an illustration?
I said, who's going to be looking at you from an angle?
Those moments in life when you're looking up at me, babe.
And then I said, we don't do angles.
And I said, I hope we do, because that was an odd angle the other day.
But anyway... And then we got on to what's your favourite angle.
Zoe, right, I've caught up and I'm still Acute. Oh, Tiggy, that deserves a card. Send your address to Michelle.
What?
Tiggy says acute angle.
Oh, God, you're going to get a signed card.
Smart ass. Oh, Lee, here's Lee. He's coming with one.
My favourite is obtuse because I like the word, not the angle.
Yeah,
I love him when he's a full wanker.
I love it. I sometimes can see Lee Peart with a scroll. Can't you?
Yes.
And
well,
sort of
he's got a funny story about that.
A scroll and dressed as a scribe.
He's got a story about that.
I don't know why. I'll drop that analogy, that image now, I think. Tiggy, acute, that's too good. That's too cute. So, obtuse, says Jane Bentley. Obtusely, I love an acute, says Vicky Waiting. I like that. Morning, Lee Durrant. It was happy 40th, wasn't it, for Monday? Happy, I hope you had a good one. Oh, a perpendicular one, says Meg.
I love that word. Perpendicular.
You know
it's
why
like
you like it.
Discombobulated. I love it.
You like it because it's perpendiculator.
Oh, Mark. What? Why do you have to always say dick?
I found the dick in the perpendiculator. And then you know why you like, what's the other word you just said you liked?
I think you like the word because it's got dick in, because let's face it, most men like their dicks more than anybody else likes them.
That's the last time I let you see it from that angle. You're not seeing any angles. I don't know what to take that.
Well, you're all always playing with them and talking about
I'm
them.
never playing with
You're
them.
always talking about them. The other day, right, we were filming.
We're going to talk about nipples later.
The other day we were filming, and I was a little bit behind Mark. Mark was a little bit in front, holding the camera, and I stopped. I went, "You're bored, and you look bored, and you look like you're playing with your balls." And he went,
I don't play with my balls.
No, but you had your hand out your trousers.
And I don't like men who do play with their balls in public.
No, you're not one that does it in public, but you do it in front of me.
Hang on a minute. The other day, I was in such agony in the gym. Such agony, because I'd obviously rushed my shorts on too fast. The leotard inner lining was obviously caught in it's like, you know, when it goes inside.
And you wouldn't, of course, go to the loo and sort your ningles out.
Ningles? More me angles. So, I'm running on the running machine, and it dawns on me quite quickly that my testicles are on the wrong side of my body.
Oh.
Yeah. And
do they only go on one side?
They shouldn't be where they were. I knew that.
I always imagine with those shorts, one goes either side.
I was in absolute agony.
Does one go either side?
They can do. Depends where you put them. Anyway, they were in completely the wrong. They were in completely the wrong.
They have to lay on the front.
I know that, darling. How does he run on a running machine? Anyway, so rather than in any way adjust myself in that, I just suffered the pain and ignominy and pain and agony of having my balls wrapped round the back of it. In fact, one of my balls was exactly where my jelly spot was. And it shouldn't have been there.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so discombobulated.
Edward says so you're showing off.
Perpendicular. So we've done well there. Too much information, says Jackie Valina. I agree.
Still laughing, though. You're a mucky bugger, Jackie.
So anyway, so we've established our favourite angles. And clearly Nadia's... Who has big balls? I need to hear this story, says Victoria Moore. You really don't.
No,
okay.
This is a real story.
So what are we going to talk about? You may, looking at the title of today's Coffee Moaning, you might be forgiven for thinking we're only obsessed with kind of, you know, sort of toilet humour. Sperm
Can I just ask one question just quickly? Because I am now musing over this and I'm worried it's going to distract me from the news. Balls don't go either side.
What do you mean?
Do they go together to one side or the other? And do they always go to one side?
Depends on countless different circumstances.
Oh, right, okay, well, forget
do you want them all?
No, forget it.
Well, you seem
just
curious.
Generally, do they go separately or together?
There is no generally about it. What? If you've got enormous scrotum,
Mark,
they will.
Don't say scrotum.
Why not?
Because it makes people feel sick.
Only when you then say it looks like bacon rind. That made me feel sick.
I literally can't believe this conversation. Please get on with the news.
Okay. So the news.
Today
today we're going to be doing sperm donor anonymity. Oh, there's a surprise. Nipple fear. Does alcohol really give you beer goggles, or does it just give you Dutch courage?
Apparently, it's scientifically proven that it doesn't give you beer. It doesn't make people beautiful.
Why have you just wrecked the story?
Oh, sorry.
That's what we're going to discuss.
No, but I thought I'd get them heated up about it.
Anyway, yeah, the new research suggests that it's not about alcohol giving you beer goggles, it gives you Dutch courage. And we're going to look at sex.
Don't say it now, you really have ruined the story.
I want to absolutely angle you. Oh, I want an angle grinder. And sex-compatible zodiac signs. Yep, it's that time of year. I think once a year, everyone that does anything like this around the news has to do... Is your zodiac sign? What's your most compatible
Mark
sex
said
sign?
We're in a parlous state if we're having to talk about zodiacs. I said, but people love it. People love it. People love talking about star signs. And this is sexually compatible. So people are going to be even more interested.
The weird thing about before we get to it though, whenever girls at school would always bring in Just 17 or magazines or whatever they were that said, you know, you're best matched with this. And then sometimes, I'm sure there was one year where one sign wasn't talked about at all. And people get confused. They think I should only hunt for people of this star sign. Don't you think that's a bit weird? Oh no, I can't go out with them. He's a Capricorn.
No, but I think it's like anything like that, isn't it? It's like people with religion or with it. I just think it's really strange, but I think it always comes from fear. So it's about like people like to feel like secure, don't they? So if you've got boundaries and you've got rules and regulations, hopefully it will all work out. But
I think for me, astrology, I like the magic of it. I like the design of it. I love the artistry in it.
We were talking about this a few weeks ago, weren't we? We were talking about that book, Love Signs. Do you remember? We were talking about this. How everybody had it as girls. You'd have a girls' night in, and you'd have this massive love signs book that 9 times out of 10 at some point would fall on your face. It was so heavy. And we'd spend ages just, and that's what I feel so sorry for this generation, because everything is but we would spend ages, just like with each individual's pages, talking about, you know, trying to match a boy with what it was saying in the chapter about your perfect sex match, and God, he loved it. But deep down, you knew it's all a load of. I
once went on a date and where we ended up going back to this woman's flat, and she had an enormous kind of, I guess it was like a carpet on a wall. I always worry when you go somewhere and there's a carpet on a wall. I don't know why. I always get a bit.
As Dina would say, this isn't another one of your girlfriends.
No, it didn't last long enough. And on the wall, this carpet was the astrological sort of chart, you know, the circle. And at the bottom were all of the kind of astrological signs, and there were tarot cards, and there was all sorts of shit. She had one of those rugs that you almost had to wade through, you know, to get...
a shag pile.
Yeah, well, it was certainly
Do you remember carpet burns?
Did you get them from a shag pile though? I thought
you'd get them from a cheap carpet.
You'd get them from an office carpet.
God, I remember once having a terrible carpet burn, but that was from a...
What was it from?
No, it's all right.
What was it from? Was it a funny angle?
Carry on, we've digressed.
Was it a funny angle?
Sorry, we're both very ADHD.
Different carpets give different burns, I find.
Yes, and cheap ones give the worst.
Right. Where's the most common place to get carpet burn, though?
The worst place?
The most common place.
Agony, knees.
Knees.
Bum.
Chin.
Chin?
I know someone...
What sort of... We're back to angles again now.
Someone... I'm not...
What angle is that?
I remember a friend of mine... elbows. Those were terrible.
Oh, elbows, because there's not a lot of flesh.
No, there's not a lot.
You're through to the bone.
And also, it gets so quick that you can't do anything. Okay?
That's it.
Yeah, literally. It's awful.
And you didn't have Netflix then that you could watch when you was injured.
And in the
do anything else.
I remember it happening on a Hessian rug.
All right, now we've gone too far.
It was like
now we've gone too far, as always.
More than a carpet born.
On your balls, Lee. How would you get carpet burns?
Lee, that's too much information.
Can't work. You can bloody talk. They know everything about you.
They know
Lee,
nothing.
that is not too much information at all. Mark has given you way too much information.
Well, your friend with the partner with the enormous balls, he must get all sorts of problems on carpets. Anyway, you're safe with lino, says Catherine Cronin.
Yes.
Okay, so sperm donor anonymity. Let's talk about this.
Pink lady's got infected on her knees.
They go
That was the
brown.
70s
They go a
for you,
light
though.
brown colour,
Yeah,
wouldn't they?
70s and 80s, you could spot a carpet burn anywhere. And if anyone ever tried to tell you something wasn't a carpet burn, you'd go, oh, all right. Just like if somebody tries to tell you a love bite isn't a love bite. You know, it's got a certain hue to it.
It's got a hue to it. Well, and also the colour it goes when it's healing is the same colour as a very sort of pink pepperami on a pizza. You know that colour. Okay, so sperm donor anonymity. This is a story that Nadia pulled about a sperm donor in America, a chap called Dylan Stone Miller, who at a difficult time in his younger life when he needed sort of money for kind of legal fees because he'd been done for petty crime and stuff like that. He needed to make ends meet and all this sort of stuff. he donated his sperm for $100 a pop. And he's now much older. He's 32. He's had a kid. I think he's separated from his wife with his child now, though. But this is the story of him where when he donated his sperm, he checked the box or ticked the box to say that if they wanted to, these children could contact, or they could make contact, the families could make contact.
I wonder, that's interesting, isn't it? Because at that point, when you tick that box, and it is lacking massively, this article, shame on you, the Times, because you want to know.
Why?
My question would have been, when you ticked that box, what were you hoping for? Or were you just covering yourself in case? And as a mother of somebody, you know, if you saw the person, the sperm donor, sort of hovering over, do I want them to contact me one day or not? I don't know. I just find that moment very interesting. I can't believe the journalist didn't ask him why.
Well, we haven't really told you the sort of full extent of the reach of his sperm donoring. Essentially, there are 96 children that he donated sperm towards. And of those 96, the families of 20 of them have come back to him. And this is the story that he's wanting to set off, literally, with toys and children's books to spend time with his progeny, with his kids. He wants to meet as many of the 96 as possible. The only meaningful quote we've got from him is, "Am I a parent?" he told a medical journal. "It's not for me to say, but it feels like parenting every once in a while."
What does that mean?
What does that
parenting
mean?
every once in a while?
Yeah. So what do you think about this? Do you think he...
Well, you actually knew somebody, didn't you, that had a
has
child from donor? A number of people you've known.
Well, I made a film when I was at film college about about being children of gay parents, and I kind of interviewed some of the first kids that had been born to lesbian parents or gay parents, lesbian parents. Yeah,
that's right, DK.
Through sperm donation, and they didn't. One of them was absolutely comfortable with not knowing who their sort of biological father was, and the other one absolutely wasn't. And I think
DK just said there, probably he just wanted to, it may well have been a tick that box to give those. Was it altruism? Was it like, I've got to think into the future and this child, this person might desperately want to know who I am? Or was it more ego driven? I will want to see all these 96 children, or somewhere in between, I don't know. But yeah, I think that whatever happens...
Sorry, Jane Othman, refresh your thing, because the picture quality is really good here. He's a weirdo, says Catherine Jones. I think the favourable way to look at this is that if anyone is going to donate sperm, not having known my father, I think it's right and fair to give to simply hand the choice to the children.
Would you? If you were desperate, you had no money.
Yeah, and I was donating.
And you know, when you're younger, these things are done. Can be done so much more easily. I'll go and do a bit of sperm. Go down the pub.
Well, a friend of mine had his finger cut off and re-sewn on for £1,000 at college, as a part of a surgical. When the NHS.
£1,000.
Yeah, that's what we said.
He had it cut off.
Yeah, he came down the pub. We had a pint of Ruddles County, and I remember him holding it, and he had his finger back on, and we were like, "How much?" He bought us all beers. He was buying us beers.
Jesus,
£1,000.
He shouldn't really been having beer.
But that was
just
back
after
in
surgery.
1990, whatever. But I don't know. I don't know whether we will never know why he did it. But I think when young, I don't think one is thinking like that. Are you? If you're doing it for £100 a pop.
Well, if you had been desperate, right, and you'd given a sperm donation, would you have ticked that box?
Probably, given my own experiences, yes.
Yeah,
I would have given the choice to the child.
Of not knowing your father.
Yeah, I would have given the choice to the child. Yeah.
So you come at it from the angle, actually, of really knowing your desperate need. I mean, your childhood, in lots of ways, was defined by that yearning for your father, and to see your father walk down the road one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important to say, is that there's this weird kind of thinking around people who aren't in your life, or fundamental kind of relatives or parents or kids, or just because they're not in your life. There's this idea, I think, and it's understandable. We sort of think, oh, well, there's no relationship. it can actually be the all-consuming relationship.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. You said with your therapist,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I thought was really interesting. That actually, I thought that was so. Actually, say that again. That actually, it can be the biggest relationship.
Well, it can be the biggest relationship, and in many regards, it can be almost the most defining relationship, the most complicated, the most nuanced,
Impactful.
the most difficult to resolve, the most difficult to understand, the most difficult to do anything about, because of course there are certain obvious limitations to it.
Such a fascinating thing. You should never say, well, you had no relationship
No,
with your father
not
because
at
you
all.
didn't know
You
him.
do.
I love that
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Well, actually, you had a massive relationship because it consumed so much
And
of
don't get me
your
wrong,
thought.
I've met him twice in my life, but for various complicated reasons, it didn't progress from there. And so that lack or
relationship
that
with the
absence,
void,
that, yeah,
Catherine.
exactly, relationship with the void. But that lack or that absence is something that can, and also as a grown adult, your sense of whether you want to know or not know really shifts and changes across your life. I mean, for me, it was thrown into sharp relief and focus at the point that I first became a parent, which was really young in my life. And at that point, you start to think about becoming a father. And so you're thinking about your, and so I did, that was when attempts, not by me, but on my behalf, by someone else, were made to reach out, and that contact was made. And then it was stopped. And I think, again, I just think in this instance, I think absolutely the choice should be given to the child and the parents of the child, absolutely. What his intentions are, and I think wandering around with a kind of bag full of books and toys is a bit...
Very scary for the mother. So like from a mother's POV, I would be absolutely petrified. I would be so petrified.
The mother of the child that
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get in their way, but I
Yeah.
would be so petrified because...
Yeah, what?
because, you know, to use a sperm donor is such a huge thing. Nobody goes into that lightly. And you've got no idea what that person is like.
Oh, look, here's someone who's actually Katie Lutfi. Excuse me, Lutfi. I'm a sperm donor. I'm sperm donor conceived. It is such a complex and misunderstood situation. I can well imagine. And I mean, it
The
wasn't...
biggest relationship of your life, like Mark. Do you connect with what Mark just said, though?
I mean, I remember having a really, really robust and tense argument with a friend of my mum's who happened to be a lesbian, who had had a child in this way, and they were incredibly forthright and felt incredibly angry about the very possibility that the father of the donor could in any way or should in any way have any connection. And they were coming at it from the perspective of he's done it this way, he should understand that. And I kind of agree, but what I didn't feel this woman was thinking about was from the child's point of view. When that child's old, this child isn't going to be a toddler or a kid, not sort of just used to this. They're going to ask a question.
Because that response from her was only about her.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't about anyone else. It was like, that's the neatest way for this to work for me, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think I do think there's that aspect to all of it which which can be forgotten, which is, and I don't mean selfish as in it's selfish to have children and all that, but there is an aspect of selfishness in having children, and I do think that can creep into it, that there's the rights of the parents having the child, but then there's a sort of lack of imagination to think, well, you know, how complicated is this going to be for the child when it's older? It's not this, it's complicated for everyone regardless of what your parenting situation is, but why not just maximise the choices? That's the thing, I think. Allow the choice to be there at the very least. And then hand it to the kid.
And who was it there? And thank you, Jackie. Lots of people sending you hugs, Mark.
Oh, blimey. Roxy.
Somebody there was saying that they were. Oh yes, Moira instance. I'm adopted and found my biological, not all roses. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Like if I was the mum of a child from a sperm donor, I'd be terrified when they made contact with them because I wouldn't know anything about them. And it's like, what sort of person might they be? Oh my God.
Well, it's really interesting. I'm really pleased you said that. I'm adopted and found my biologicals, not all roses. I'm not too sure if that show on ITV deals with the kind of the not positives. I think there's real, almost societal pressure, and there's a taboo in the idea that reuniting or making connection can't be bad. You know, it's like it has to always be good. It's like it's always got to be a sense of completion and sort of finishing the circle. And it isn't necessarily. And it can be in a sort of superficial sense on one level. Oh, wow, you're you, I'm me. That's wow, that's weird. And it is, believe me, the weirdest thing, seeing someone you have a DNA connection with. But then for me, it became a much more complicated thing about nature, nurture, life, endeavour, emotional intelligence and all that kind of stuff. It became really, really complicated for me. And I think it doesn't get talked about. I think there's almost like if you were to say, oh yeah, no, we long lost whatevers, you know, the whole idea, long lost sounds romantic, doesn't it? So that when reunited, it's like, woo, it's all got to be perfect. And that's where I think it's a bit tricky. I think if 20 of this guy's progeny have approached him, families have approached him and said there's interest, great. I don't think you then tuck toys under your arm and fill a bag full of children's books saying I'm going to find them all. I think you have to respect the fact that only some of them are going to want to.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, I think his endeavour and his hope is to
find them all.
Yeah. Wow, interesting.
Thank you for sharing your experiences as well, there, guys.
Okay, Dutch courage, beer goggles. Let's talk about beer goggles, and then we'll talk about nipple fear.
So this is scientists.
Oh, is this?
Scientists have said this. Scientists have found that Dutch courage is
nearly. It's
real.
University of Pittsburgh.
But beer goggles are not, concluding that booze can give you the confidence to approach someone, but does not make them appear better looking. So we thought we could have some fun with this.
Is that vein? I thought that was a vein popping out. I thought my brain was about to explode.
Who believes? I believe there's such a thing as beer goggles.
So do I.
Where you can suddenly think, oh, actually, you're really attractive.
But
it's not. I'm sorry. I don't know how they can have scientifically found this out.
Well, when you dig into their test and how they did it, it's really odd. It's really odd. They were invited in to look at images of people, so they were told they would have the opportunity to meet some of the people they selected in the images in a subsequent phase. The study said the prospect of being able to meet, flirt, or perhaps engage immediately with the people in the images made the scenario more realistic. When I looked at how they went about this, bringing these men into a room, giving them drink, and then saying, here are the photographs of people.
That's not
realistic at all.
Yeah, you've got to be in a club, the music's going, you've had a bit of a look round, there's nobody else, and then you have another drink. And I mean, you cannot put this into a lab.
No, I don't
and come
think
up
you
with
can.
any answers. Sorry, scientists.
No.
You can't. I mean...
Elaine Denning, I wholeheartedly disagree with the scientists. When you're drunk, you can make very, very bad judgments.
Yeah, and you can con yourself into... Because the thing is, it's like when you get
Lee
into...
Durrant, I love absolutely everyone when we're in beer goggles.
Yeah, it's that soppy drunk, is it? Can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
Just before I get drunk, can I just say I really, really like you. I really, really like you.
I think this is a load of old nonsense. I think this idea in Pittsburgh that basically the idea that it gives you the kind of, it fortifies, I think it's a bit of both. I think what drink does, it makes you confident to talk to people, but it also completely reduces your, not standards is horrible because that would suggest there's people that, but whatever your own personal kind of preferences are.
Well, let's just be honest, your standards.
All right, well, they fly out the window and suddenly someone you wouldn't necessarily look twice at, you're jumping all over.
Can you remember the last time you had beer goggles? Because we met sober.
Well, yeah.
Because we worked together first. I always say it's the best way to meet somebody is when you work with them.
Yeah, and then...
Because you can have a good look at them, see what they're like, see what their behaviour's like.
But yeah, I mean, before we met. I mean, so it wasn't with you, but I mean, beer goggles is... you wouldn't end up in so many sort of stupid situations, would you?
Nora, you can't recreate that vibe in a lab. It's the vibe.
Yeah, Zoe Agnew 100% happens to be most times.
Yeah, this is why I think sober dating is the only way forward. You know the lovely guy from
Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight. He did a whole post on this the other day about how he loves a drink and all of that. He said that he just cannot recommend enough that you must have your first dates sober.
Karen Ula says a dark nightclub after 10 double vodkas and cokes versus sober in the daylight. There's no comparison. I mean,
with a hangover.
I mean, one of the other issues with beer goggles is, and I do think this is an aspect, this is quite a literal, I'm talking optics here from a sort of cinematography, filming, photographic perspective. When you're in dark environments, in clubs, you're drinking, there's a kind of vignette, isn't there? Or there's a natural vignette to everything you're seeing. So stuff is a bit blurry edged, you're on the dance floor, it's all a bit fudgy. I've been in situations where it hasn't necessarily taken that much alcohol for me to think this is a particular sort of thing, and then you kind of suddenly the light flashes on them and you, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on?
When you get that flash, and you're like
whoa. And suddenly it's that moment where you catch yourself on a selfie, looking for.
But I think that also deep down in all of that, this is what I love about human beings. Often people will have sex, end up going back, having sex with each other, because actually just what they want is human contact. So I think that need to be like close with somebody is always there. What is it they say? 5 hugs a day, or, people need to be touched on a regular basis. Humans do. And so that will end up, so often people will end up getting pissed, having the beer goggles. They think that what it is just about is about sex, without realising actually it's about that need to have human contact. So did the scientists look at that side of it? Yeah. It's not just bravado, it is a need. It is a need to connect.
Jane Bentley, I got drunk and fell asleep on my now husband. That clearly worked. Well, there we go. Now, quickly, just before we head off, nipple shame. I just wanted to, this story came up before. Florence Pugh's done another interview. She talks about the fact that she had that huge backlash, didn't she, to wearing that sort of pink, pink Valentino dress that she wore last year. And everyone had a complete sort of meltdown about the fact that her female nipples were on show. And I just want to ask a simple question. Why is it all right to show men's nipples and not women's?
Okay, so if it was a big night out like that, big glamorous night, and you had your nipples out, would people not be just as shocked?
I hadn't thought about
I mean, the thing is,
I can't stand men with their nipples out.
I am all for people doing exactly what they want. But I think in a situation where it's a big night out or a dinner or whatever, men would be judged as much for having their nipples out as women.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it would be unusual. I mean, if you think, say, Jason
you're
Momoa
right.
turns up with a great big medallion and his chest's
shirt.
open and his hairy nipples are spilling out, no one would comment at all. It would be expected. I just want to know why the aureola of a man is considered fine to look at, even walking down a street. You know, when you see the most sort of self kind of regarding man with an enormous stomach that they've invested huge amounts of beer into, and their top's off and their nipples are out, people aren't up in arms. But if a woman was to do that, everyone would have a freak out.
Well, it's the same reason people get so annoyed if a woman breastfeeds. It's because boobs are totally sexualized. But the thing is, if you're wearing a beautiful dress and you're showing your nipples, you do want attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she looked absolutely glorious and I would have no problem. And if I bumped into her on the carpet and go, oh my God, your tits look amazing, I would have no problem with it. Yeah. But you do want attention. Now, listen, I don't have a problem with people wanting attention. I'm a show-off. I love getting attention. It makes me laugh my head off when people try and will troll and say, oh, she's such a show-off or she's attention-seeking. Everybody in the entertainment industry is. You're all... It's part of being an entertainer, being a presenter. Yeah. And so when you're walking down a red carpet with a see-through dress, you want attention. Now, unfortunately, you're also going to get negative attention because there are going to be people that are jealous of the fact that she looks so beautiful and she doesn't have to lift them up and throw them over her shoulders. You know, she's got great boobs, you know, so... you're always going to put yourself in the firing line for that.
It's just, it really frustrates me. There's something about this that frustrates. I mean, she goes on in this interview to say it's because we are terrified of our bodies. I get what you're saying. I mean,
I think people are terrified of your beauty.
Isn't it
I
weird?
think that's what it was.
Yeah, beauty maybe, and jealousy.
I think that, and your power and your confidence. It's like I'm talking to Florence now. That's what it is. Like. We were talking a few weeks ago about compersion, which is just the joy, the pure joy in somebody else's joy. And that's what you have to do. If you get a stab of jealousy because somebody looks so beautiful, you just go, oh my, you You just feel that joy for that
just
person.
turn the other buttock
And then you don't
cheek.
have to feel jealous and trolly and nasty.
Turn the other buttock cheek. Natasha Milchan, I'm with you, Marky. Here in Israel, these men with the bellies and the bare chests are everywhere, while us
nobody
women
can
are
say
left to
anything.
sweat in layers of clothes. That's what I mean. It's
It
that
really
side
makes
of it.
me sick that.
That's such a hypocrisy.
With a t-shirt tucked into your jeans. Mind you, we do all have a go about it.
But I find
It's
it really.
disgusting.
I mean, I drove past a bus stop the other day, and there was a guy there with his top off and his stomach out, and it's terrible, isn't it?
And the
It's
girls
like-
say they find it really intimidating.
I
It's
find it intimidating.
Maybe there's some men listening here that do this completely unwittingly and don't realise it's intimidating, but it is. You might not know it, but I'm telling you, it is.
Do you think sometimes it's because I think it's an attitudinal
so
thing as
many
well?
cultures
Because
that wouldn't
sometimes
do that.
when you're at a gig or you're somewhere and there's a guy and they've got a great big stomach out and they're just like that, and it's
I don't think it matters if
No, it
it's a
doesn't
great
matter
big
about the
stomach.
size. It's not about that.
Anything.
But what seems to happen is when it's a bit like this, sort of like take it or leave it, and I just.
But
think
I'm the same
a
with
bit-
a big muscly. I find it like, and the girls will say that. They say it's threatening, like a
Yeah,
really
I know what you mean.
muscular guy as well. It's just a man, no t-shirt. There's a certain kind of arrogance that I think is a bit intimidating for women.
Yeah, and yet women are sort of shamed if they show too. I don't know. I just.
Can I ask you one thing? Why, when men are running towards a fight, do they rip their shirts off?
What, like Jax in
Yeah,
Vanderpump
because the
Rules?
shirt.
I've never run
It's
towards a
not
fight and ripped
because
my shirt off.
No, but
I think it's
it's
primal.
not to save the shirt. It's primal
It's to
because
show their
the
chest.
no, but I'm saying there's a connection here. It's like to take that off. It's like you're vulnerable, but you're not.
Yeah.
Do you know when you take the shirt
Hit
off?
me.
I'll do this naked.
There's a kind of hit me. See what
Yeah.
will happen if you hit me. It's a Tarzanic kind of thing.
I
They've seen
digress.
Gladiator too often, says Catherine.
I
Crowley.
digress a little, but who
digress.
has seen below deck sailing yacht, the whole sexual
No,
assault
down under.
down under? With the sexual assault episode, we watched it the other night. It was so shocking.
Yeah.
The most shocking thing I've ever seen on reality
Yeah, no,
TV.
it's quite something.
We witnessed something that is going on every single day in every corner of the world. It was so shocking. We should
It really
do a
was.
chat about it.
Yeah, it
actually.
really was. DK1612, I wouldn't mind seeing Idris Elba topless in the co-op. It's funny though, isn't it? We can pick and choose those that we would like to see. I mean, fame and status in that sense actually kind of
I'd be
qualifies a lot.
disappointed if I saw him naked in the co-op. I'd
Would
say,
you?
come on, Idris, that's better from you.
Yeah. I'd like to. Why don't you try wearing something with your nipples out?
I might, right, that's it.
All
Come
right,
on.
okay. We've run out of time.
Yeah.
So zodiac sign sexual compatibility will have to wait for another day. I'm
We'll do
afraid.
that tomorrow.
Yeah, we will.
Love you guys.
Have a lovely day, everyone. We're now
Bye.
recording the Curly Cooks.